welcome back to another video episode of Beyond the Shelf.
Someday we will get used to being on video. Today is not that day.
No. Today, Sarah and I are just going to yap at you for a while. We're going to talk about third spaces, which we can get into more of what that is and why it applies to libraries, but that is our topic of the month. But before we get into that, what are you reading right now, Sarah?
So I'm actually only reading one thing, and that's only because Libby stole my book from me yesterday.
I hate when that happens.
I know. I did the whole put my e-reader on airplane mode. Didn't work. It still got me.
I've never tried that.
Yeah, it's worked in the past, but it did
Yeah.
not work yesterday when it stole Magic Burns by Alana Andrews from me, which is a fantasy, all the different fantasy elements, creatures in it. It's kind of a weird series, but people love it, and this is book 2. I'm not convinced yet, but I do love other Alana Andrews.
Is the first
books.
one Burn for me?
No, that's a different series.
That's a different series, 'cause
love
I know
that
you
series.
love that series.
I love
this
that
one
series.
had Burn in it, so I
Yes.
was like, maybe this is
No,
what you...
no, this is her other
Okay.
series that people adore. The Kate Daniel series. It might just because I love that other series that I'm not getting into this one.
get
But the second book so far has been better, and I'm bummed that it was stolen from me. And that somebody else wanted this 15-year-old book.
I guess it is what it is.
Whatever, I'll get it back.
Yeah. Did I recommend it in book chat? Maybe, I don't know. Sorry if I did.
Yeah, it's your fault. And we don't have a physical copy of the book. I was like, I'll just go get the physical copy. No, we only have it on ebook. And then I'm listening to Back After This by Linda Holmes. She's the author of Evie Drake Starts Over. And it is kind of like a women's fiction romance about a podcast producer who boss kind of forces her to be on a podcast where she essentially goes on dates and stuff. It's very rom-com-y women's fiction-y. I enjoy it because I like, and I had just got done reading a literary fiction and a classic.
Excuse me, literary fiction?
I know.
What did you read? Literary fiction? Sorry. I'm like, what?
I read Daughter of Fortune by Isabel Allende.
Sure.
One of my goals this year, reading wise, is to clean out my my bookshelf at home.
Sure.
And I had bought this at a book sale or something like that, and I was like, okay, let's read it. I've never read Isabel Allende. Let's do it. And to be fair, it was good, but it's so not my genre. It took me 6 weeks to read. I was reading books in the in between. I think I still give it 4 stars. I was it's a good book.
It just took a while.
It took a while, and there's a historical inaccuracy in it, so. Not a big one,
No,
but they talk about the country of Turkey before Turkey existed. I was like, Turkey doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, I don't.
I blame
I think an editor would catch that.
I know. Whatever. But anyway, so after that, I was like, I need a women's fiction, and I need shapeshifters, stat.
Give me those shapeshifters. I love it.
Anyway, what are you reading?
I just finished some stuff, so I'm just starting relatively 2 new books, which I'm listening to Unlikely Animals by Annie Hartnett. This book came out a couple years ago, and it caught my attention when it first came out, but I just never got around to reading it. And then recently I listened to The Road to Tender Hearts.
Okay.
I believe is what it's called, by Annie Hartnett. You would recognize the cover. It's very colorful. It's a pretty popular book. And I loved it. I loved the narrator. It's just quirky AF, but not annoying. It's just all these really cool characters. The storylines are all with both the storylines in Unlikely Animals and The Road to Tender Hearts are very unique. Unlikely Animals, it was about a woman who comes back home and has to take care of her father, but her father is seeing animals everywhere.
Okay.
And there also is an element, it's a great, both Tender Hearts and Unlikely Animals, great reading challenge for a touch of magic.
Okay.
Because the main character in Unlikely Animals can heal people with her hands, and she loses her healing ability. And they literally give it a name. It's very interesting. But again, it doesn't you're not
there's no shapeshifters.
You're not turned off by the fact that it's not something that's real.
Yeah.
I don't know a better way to put it. It's literally just a touch of magic. And the narrator is the same for both audiobooks, which I didn't know, and I just love his voice. Mm-hmm. He's such a great narrator. So I'm super enjoying that one. And yeah, I'm reading Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte because our next podcast, we'll just reveal now.
Yeah.
Sarah and I are both reading and or have read Wuthering Heights, which I've read Wuthering Heights before, but I listened to it, and this time I'm reading with my eyes. And then we're going to go watch the movie. And then we're going to join the discourse next month and talk about Wuthering Heights the movie, Wuthering Heights the book, how everyone feels about it. We'll see what... I mean, I don't know if the reviews are really out on the movie. Like, people critical.
Yeah.
I know the discourse is discoursing.
Yes, the discourse is discoursing. And we'll get more into it in a way that's like... There's no way... You haven't seen the movie yet. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
But, like, we can wait till after Valentine's Day when it drops.
I do love Emerald Fennell. Promising Young Woman is one of my faves. So like I'm gonna go in as neutral as possible. But it's interesting to read it instead of listen to it this time. It's harder. Mm-hmm. Classics are hard sometimes, and not because they're difficult. They're just different. I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
An older style of writing, I guess, is like a better way to put it. But I didn't read it when I was younger or in college ever. The first time I read it was like maybe 6 months ago. So
okay.
It's not, it doesn't have like
16-year-old you.
Yeah, which I think a lot of people have that connection, and I think that's a lot of reason. It's the discourse is discoursing. But anyways.
But we'll get more into that.
We'll get more into that in the next podcast. But what's on your TBR then?
So one that's been on my TBR for a while because it keeps coming up from like bookstagrammers that I follow is In the Veins of the Drowning by Callie Cassidy, and I honestly don't remember what it's about. It's a siren, I think. It's a romantasy. It's a, if I remember right, like a single, like not a series.
Oh, that's nice.
Like a standalone. That's the word I'm looking for. Romantasy. Pretty cover, and was recommended. So that is really what I have going for it. No, also, I'm going to listen, I think, next to Big in Sweden by Sally Franson, which is an older book about an American woman who goes on a Swedish reality show. And I was like, that sounds fun.
The only reason I know about that book is because we have a book club set of it.
Oh, yes.
And, like, I'm involved in ordering books for book clubs because I run a book club at Franklin. And I was like, I'd never heard of it until someone chose it as their pick. And I was like, oh, this looks kind of fun.
Yeah. That's what you like, again, because I just read some heavier stuff that I was like, that looks like a fun audiobook. I am picking that one up next. So
I love that.
Yeah, that's on my TBR. What about you?
I'm going to I have 3 audiobooks checked out, so I'm just trying to like burn through them pretty bad. So I'm gonna read Dominion by Addie E. I can't think of her last name, and I didn't write it down. Addie is her first name. It will be in the show notes.
It will be in the show notes.
And it's just like a small, I think, like slice of life book. I think everyone I've heard that's read it says it blows them away. So it's got a really lovely cover. It's a great book to read for Black History Month in February. It's a Black author. So yeah, I started it a while ago and didn't finish it, and so it's one of those that I'm gonna come back to because it's been between then and now. It's been recommended so many times by people I respect their opinions. I'm like, okay, come back to this one.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna go nonfiction, which is not that surprising when you hear what it is, but it is The Bookshop: A History of the American Bookstore.
Oh yeah, no, that sounds surprising.
Yeah,
that is the nonfiction you
by
picked up.
Evan Fries. Again,
you're looking at me like I have it in my notes.
No, I'm just saying. I'm gonna do better. Sorry about that. It's like the last thing I do is write down what I'm reading in my TBR. And yeah, I mean, I worked in a used bookstore for like a long time, so I'm just curious what they have to say about it. I'm sure there's fun tidbits. I'm sure just like when you read about books about libraries, if you've worked in a library, you can maybe get a little annoyed because you're like, no. But since it's nonfiction, hopefully it gets it right.
We'll see. You'll have to let us know because I've read a lot of nonfiction about libraries, and I'm like, why am I reading about my job when I'm not at my job?
Yeah.
But at least it's a little removed now because you're not currently in a bookshop.
And I love books. I love bookstores. Like, obviously, just as much as I still shop and buy books, even though I work at the library and have access to so many books. But yeah, I'm excited about that one. Mm-hmm. We'll see. If I start listening to it, you know how audiobooks are.
Yeah.
I might just be like, no, thank you. Yeah. It's third on the list.
Okay.
Well, the one I'm now, and then Dominion, and then that. And then I don't really have a hard, like a non-audiobook that I'm going to read next. I don't know what it's going to be.
Nice.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. We want to get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay. So, third places. I feel like people have probably heard this before, but maybe not everyone knows what exactly a third place is. So, what exactly is a third place?
So, according to, this all started with a Ray Oldenburg. He wrote what's called The Great Good Place in 1989. He was an urban sociologist.
What a cool title.
Right?
Like, I want to be an urban sociologist. Do we even have those anymore?
I don't know.
Anyway, sorry.
I mean, the man lived till 2022. He lived into his 90s.
He wrote an article not like towards the end of his life that circled back to it. Anyways.
Yeah. But basically his concept is that there's three main spaces that humans interact in. The first is their home. That's your first place. The second place is your work. And then the third space is a separate social network, a separate space where you can be social. So it wouldn't, even if your like friends are at your home, that doesn't count.
Nope.
Even if you have friends at work, that doesn't count. This is a third space you go to interact with other human beings, essentially.
Yes.
And doing something that you generally enjoy. Third spaces must fulfill 8 conditions. So I thought these were really interesting and really give a great idea if you have a third space. I'm just going to go through them really quickly. They're a neutral ground. They're a leveling space. They're a space for conversation. They have accessibility and accommodations for everyone. They have what they call the regulars, so think Cheers. A playful mood, and it is a home away from home. So you feel just as comfortable there as you would in your own house.
Yeah.
Which is why we were talking about them today in relationship to libraries.
Which Oldenburg did not view libraries as third places at the time that he wrote this article. He came around to it because of how libraries were at the time, like the existing structures, and how much like libraries have changed in the last,
35 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
So I think he eventually did, acknowledge that a library is a third space, but when he wrote this, it was not. Libraries were not included.
And it's so interesting because we'll talk about it a little bit more what our personal third spaces were versus what this man in 1989 considered third spaces, and how those have like changed over the years and how they're disappearing, which we'll talk about a little bit more later in the podcast.
Yes.
Which I'm sure everyone is feeling. This is not an overly new phenomenon, and it has been exacerbated by COVID.
Major.
And the internets.
Maybe the internet more than COVID.
Actually, probably the internet more than
COVID.
But first, I want to talk about like libraries as third spaces. And I know we're probably preaching to the choir a little bit with this podcast, because if you're already listening to a library podcast,
you're probably going to the library.
You're probably coming to the library. But I think what is the most interesting part about a library as a third space versus some of the other examples is that it's free. There's no cost to enter, which makes it essentially a no or low barrier space, which is not true. We'll talk about this. I do have some books I can recommend beyond Ray Oldenburg's, but it was interesting talking about nonfiction in which you read about your own work.
Yeah.
It was actually not as hopeful as I think the books were meant to be, because I was reading all these like, oh, tell me about all these third spaces, and then it's like the library, and like half of it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Of course. Yeah, I think libraries, there has been such a shift, even in the last 5 to 10 years, of like, don't get me wrong, we circulate books, but I think we have moved a little bit from book-centric to service-centric.
Yeah.
And not that, one is greater than the other necessarily. Obviously, we love books, we read books, we want people to check out books, but libraries definitely offer more services and more like, programming and places to come and just hang out, get resources, find what you need. Obviously, information. Libraries are a huge part of a democracy because there's free information that you can get. But I think it's interesting how he didn't originally think libraries were that space, but I feel like they've really evolved into a lot of people's third spaces, and a lot of people maybe don't realize or don't see that if they're just coming in and picking up books. Like, maybe we can encourage people to use libraries as third spaces a little bit more, because man, people need them.
Yeah. Well, and I think
they do. Yeah.
And I do think part of that shift, anecdotally, who's someone who's been in the library world for over a decade now, is some of those other social spaces that were maybe free, or low costs are no longer existing. So we've had to take on the burden in some ways.
Yeah, it's okay to say that.
Yeah. Of being a third space for more people.
Yes.
Which is not inherently a bad thing as long as we're properly funded.
Yep. As long as we have the money to have the staff to help people like we need to, like we want to.
Yes. Because I was thinking about other third spaces that are completely free with no barriers. And I honestly came up with very few.
There's parks, but those are seasonal,
especially here in Iowa.
Yep.
Community gardens was another one that came up in a book.
I like that.
Which
seasonal again.
They're few and far between. But they do exist. And then I kind of did a little bit of researching of like free nights at local businesses. So like the Rook Room, which is a board game place, has like basically they usually cost $5 to come in, and then it gives you access to all of their board games. And then on Monday nights they do it free. You don't have to pay. Or like local bookstores that do book clubs and stuff like that.
I feel like Shelf Love does a lot of community events. A lot of Story House, a lot of them do, but like have those like community events that are free.
But free. But most of them have some sort of barrier, whether it's money. I did have like religious and political organizations, but you must theoretically believe
or want to be a part of
them, right? And so there's that aspect. I wrote down here too with libraries, we try really hard to also fit our services for multiple demographics.
Yes.
Which is not in a negative way, but is not true for other spaces. Like and I was thinking more age.
Yeah.
But across the board, like we try to have stuff for kids and the teens and the adults and senior citizens and stuff like that too. So we have more options and opportunities depending on what you want that third space to look like.
Yeah. Which I mean, that's a good thing about the library, that we have all of those things. I do feel like it's gone. So this is kind of segueing into the third spaces are gone, but I think a mall back in the day would have been a third space.
Were you a mall rat?
Yes, of course I was. Hanging out at the Ames Mall. So cool. It is it does still exist. Definitely not cool anymore. Kids do not hang out at the mall anymore. Maybe they do. Actually.
Maybe they do. I think I'm not hip on what the teens are doing.
Hey, cool kids.
Hey.
But yeah, that was a place, like, you did not, I mean, yeah, you could buy, like, a pretzel at the pretzel maker, like, whatever, but, like, you could just go to the mall and walk around, and people do still, like, mall walkers, they don't pay, to do that, like, you can walk into that space. It is made for you to buy things, but you don't have to.
You don't have to. No one is walking around forcing you out.
Yes.
If you're not paying for anything, which would be true for which I get of other establishments that are for profit.
Yeah. Yeah. And like libraries I think libraries as third spaces, it's like I think this is my opinion. We don't need to be like flashy. Like we just need to, and like the latest, hippest thing, we just need to be there for the community that we serve. And each of our libraries serve a different community.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Each of our 6 branches, like, we get the reports of the demographics that are at our libraries. Like, the age that uses our library, where they are living. Not that we're like Big Brother watching you. I just mean, we do have this.
We know where you live, and we know how old you are, and we know when you come in and when you leave. We don't, I promise you.
We don't. But, like, it is interesting to think about how each branch of the Des Moines Public Library is a different type of third space, too. Some of the smaller branches are a little more community focused. I would say Franklin has a lot of like family focus. Like I think that's one of the cool things about our system is that all our branches are different.
Slightly tangential, but Franklin is actually my home library, even though I work at Central. And so we go there a lot with my 3-year-old, and it's always just rampant with kids. It is that part. But we happened to go to the Northside Library this Saturday, and she was the only child in the building, and I think she's never been happier than the fact that she didn't have to share any toys.
Like, all mine.
Oh, mine. So at one point she wanted to like go to I was like, no, this is all the kids section there is. She's like, what's over there? I was like, not kids stuff, babe.
No.
But it was so different too as someone who works at Central, and it is such a busy place in a different way. I think there was like maybe 15 people, including staff, on a Saturday at Northside, and I was like, what is this magical place?
Wouldn't know.
Yeah.
No idea.
It was magical.
No idea.
The sun was shining in their big windows. We were just like drinking our coffee and watching our daughter play. And I was like, this is delightful.
Yeah, it's a nice little lovely, which again, like you got out of your house. You got away from your work, technically. Yes. I know it's kind of muddy a little bit because we do work, but a different branch. Like
I didn't feel the need, like when I go to Central, to like, oh, I should go fix that. No, you're not. You're not at work today.
Don't touch it.
Don't touch it. Don't fix that.
Shout out to the Northside Library.
Yeah.
I love all the branches of the library. But
I feel like Northside doesn't get a lot of love sometimes because is it our smallest or is Forest smaller?
I believe Northside is
I think
like space-wise, the smallest branch.
Yes, I think so too. Anyway, I got off topic, but I just wanted to talk about the magic of North for a second.
Just for a second. I think another thing too about libraries as third spaces is not just like there's two things. Not that there is like you can talk to other people there. Like patrons can talk to each other or they can talk to you, which I think is one of his aspects is that, like you are not sitting alone in your house. You're like speaking with other people. And I love the regulars. Central has regulars. Probably the most regulars. Franklin has plenty of regulars. I like the idea of you can, like, people know your name and especially I will say definitely at that help desk at Franklin, I know people, I see people that are regular, I chat with them, but for sure in the children's section, if I'm down there a lot, like I always used to be down there during creative readers, and you get to know the families, you know them, like you talk to them, you know what's going on with like, hey, how's this going for you? And like, I love that about working at Franklin, that we have those opportunities, but I think that is an important, like being a regular.
Yes.
And I think, I bet there's a podcast listener, there's got to be at least one, who is proud to be a library regular.
Yes. As you should be. That's always my goal, is to like find like the Cheers bar. Yeah. So like I walk in and like they know my order. Like that is the height of introvert Sarah. Like I'm not a big talker, which I know is the opposite of what you would assume for someone who talks on a podcast once a month. But I was like, I just want the bartender to know my drink and set it down, say hi, and then move on. I love that.
So basically we are promoting the library as a third space.
Yes.
But part of the reason we wanted to talk about this too is that there is such a loss. Like we briefly touched on it earlier, but like not just COVID, but the internet has really been detrimental because, and I do understand, I do want to acknowledge that like there are communities in the internet, like let's say there are, a disabled person who can't leave their home, or like, there are communities that totally do work as third spaces on the internet. Like I'm not saying the internet can't be a third space, but I think it is kind of overtaken people's lives, I think, to some extent.
Yeah, and I think including myself, who is a self-proclaimed introvert, it sometimes feels so much easier to just, boot up, especially it's on my phone, just boot up the internet, see what, see what's going on, and those like pockets of my social space. But it is not the same, in my opinion, if you have the ability, it's not the same thing
as like
going somewhere and doing something. And I always my anxiety and my introvertness, like I'll like sign up to do something, or I'll like say yes to a social gathering, and then I will spend like the next 2 days internally trying to convince myself like not to back out of it. And then I go, and then it's lovely.
You have a great time.
And I have a great time. But I think sometimes for a lot of people, getting over that hump of like, well, I'm going to get home late, and what if I don't get to sleep right away? And like, I don't know. A lot of people I've learned don't have an inner monologue, and I don't know what that feels like. Of like,
that's wild. Like, there's always something.
Yeah. Am I having an imaginary fight with my parents up here? Yeah, sometimes. Often, more often than I would like to admit.
But
even that,
they're like you make up the barrier, like in your mind.
They are imaginary barriers.
Yes, imaginary
that only exist up here.
Which I do think is, like you were saying, the internet is it's so much easier. Like to just engage by typing rather than like leaving your home, going out in the public, talking to strangers potentially. Ideally, your third space would have people that you. Like that you see on a regular basis, which maybe that's just us who work there, and that's fine. But
and I think with the internet, there's always this wall you can put back up immediately, whether it's just like logging off. A lot of times you don't see these people face to face in whatever you're doing, so they're not as real to you, which I think is where Oldenburg's original idea comes from as well. Of like there is always this barrier you never have to put down in an internet space that you have to let go of if you're face to face with strangers in a third location.
Yes.
Which makes it sound like now like a kidnapping.
Yeah. Take them to the
third location. Don't use the word location, Sarah.
And we would be remiss not to talk about, because it's literally been all over the news basically since COVID, the loneliness epidemic. Which, that's a whole nother topic technically, but, there have been books, there's been lots of discourse about how the internet and not leaving your house has really caused a major loneliness epidemic in Americans, and how that is literally detrimental to your physical health and mental health, obviously. But even though sometimes the desire is to stay home and not leave your house, and I just bought my house and I love being home. I love just hanging out at my house, but I do really value the importance of leaving and finding those spaces where you can just communicate with real people.
And not just loneliness, but also division, because it forces you to have these conversations with people who may not believe everything you believe, rather than the echo chamber the internet can easily
Which mine
become.
Is for sure. All my algorithms speak directly to me.
Yeah.
For sure.
100%.
I find that more and more these days, but
I think the other thing to take note when we're talking about the loss of third spaces as well, which is a larger conversation and a longer historical conversation on the rise of suburban communities.
Yeah.
And that because we've turned into a car-centric society, and that's even true. I think about I'm from rural Iowa and moving here, my mother constantly, and she's not wrong, talks about how what do you mean you're 15 minutes away from a Hy-Vee? And I'm in town, I live in the city, and she's so used to, I grew up with about 10,000 people. It was actually a fairly large town for Northwest Iowa, where I'm from. This idea of well, everything's about 7 minutes away. It's so easy to do that third space, to do it when you could bike to it.
Yeah.
In a way that, especially with suburban communities, are set up to be home to work to home areas, because you don't have these neighborhoods anymore. We're very lucky to live in the Beaverdale neighborhood.
Yeah, like we both live in neighborhoods.
In a neighborhood. Yeah. Where my husband and I always talk about, like, could we never leave Beaverdale, theoretically? Like, does it have all the things we do? Not quite.
Not quite.
Not quite. I think if you go to a bigger city, like Minneapolis or something like that, you can live in a neighborhood and theoretically never leave your neighborhood. That's not even true for something as established as, say, the Beaverdale neighborhood is. Maybe Drake, because it's also got a college, you could, like, theoretically, but even then, I'm trying to think there's no grocery store. So we continue to see the barriers of making third spaces as accessible and accommodating as possible.
Yeah, I think the discussion of, like, suburbs also leads to, like, the economic divide of, like, if you have the money to, like, create, you know, like, you just have more money, and more money is more opportunity. And generally, if you are in the suburbs, you are economically more well off than some people within the city limits. I mean, not a blanket statement, but just, like, generally that is, like, you know, like, you can, you know, go to, like, a public pool that you don't have to pay for, but it's, like, part of your private club.
Yes.
Like, you know, there's just a little more opportunity, I feel.
And if everyone is of the same socioeconomic class, just because of the cost of the housing.
Yes.
You're not really creating a genuine third space, because they should be neutral at every level, at every demographic, which is hard. Like, you're never going to hit that 100%.
No.
Right?
Not possible.
Not possible. But you're really separating yourself off from even attempting to hit every demographic, right? That's not the point, generally, of a suburb.
No.
So that, I think, is also, and we have some, like, great books if you're really wanting to get into, like, redlining and zoning and the creation of suburbs that talk about it, like, with way more grace and eloquence than I'm going to be able to talk about them. But I've read them. They're fascinating on how these sorts of things have also, like, killed the third spaces. These, like, the neighborhoods specifically, where you can kind of live your entire life within a neighborhood. And I think if you haven't heard about Center Street in Des Moines,
that's a fascinating history. I feel like I really encourage anyone to look that up. We have books on it
in the library. There's also, I was doing some Googling, KCCI it's a couple years old, but news segment about it. I know I would have to find it, but a graduate student here in Des Moines did a whole presentation on redlining. I think that was their graduate thesis, that you can find on YouTube. I know that for sure. But basically, if you haven't heard of Center Street in Des Moines, it was a largely African-American neighborhood that was essentially destroyed by redlining, which, if you know what redlining is, it basically urban developers who wanted to bring the interstates.
It was the interstate.
It was the interstates.
Was the interstate, yeah.
Through these cities would look and make decisions based on economic class where to put these interstates. And the areas and neighborhoods they considered not great were literally put in red.
Yeah.
And so 235 basically destroyed Center Street and the neighborhood itself. Yeah. And so there's a lot of great books on Center Street before and then its demise due to redlining.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really, I mean, when I say fascinating, it's kind of also depressing, but
yes,
it's, you know, it's history. It's the history of where we live. It's part of, it's just part of why I think we are, like, this metro community is, because the interstates is so suburb. Like, we do have a strong suburban, and not again, this is not anti-suburbs either. Like, there's nothing wrong with living in a suburb. It just does kind of.
It creates this home to work, because most people who, not completely, but a lot of people who live in the suburbs then still work in the city, and that 20-minute commute, you know, it's part of your day. All of a sudden, you also don't have time. It's a time thing too.
It's a time thing.
To give that time to a third space. You had, you know, small children in there, or children generally, and, you know, after school programs, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Just really can affect your social and mental health, and is also led to some of the demise of the third spaces, these like neighborhood communities.
Yeah.
That you could have these third spaces in. If you have a third space, that's great. I love that for you.
Yeah, we are. I did, as we were talking about this, I do realize that Des Moines does have, like for the community, like Northwest Community Center across the street from Franklin. And there's the North Side one I know.
Mm-hmm.
Though that is I think a great third space.
Yes.
I wasn't even thinking about that. Generally for older adults, but you don't have to pay to go to those community centers, and I know they have programming and talks, and it's just a place to hang out, which is the community center at Franklin, our Northwest Community Center. We know who those people are because they come over to the library and use the library as the third space as well. And I do feel like that is a great example of how a third space still thrives in the city.
Yes. So
same with the library.
Same with the library.
They're both. But yeah. So yeah, just I feel like final thoughts. Go to your library. You already are, I'm sure, but still go to your library. And maybe like if you are someone who uses the pickup window and just checks out books, like maybe stop inside sometime. Maybe check out a program. All our branches offer very different and unique programming. Like just step inside, come say hi to me. Come say hi to Sarah. I'm kidding, don't. Sarah's an introvert. She doesn't want you to say hi to her.
No, I work front facing desk. You can say hi.
Come talk to me about the podcast. You know? But like it is, I love the way I feel almost all the time in the library because it is like a community. Yeah. Even when like the bad stuff is happening or, you know, anything like general work, anything, it still is really nice to come to a space every day where you know is like a place for people to feel like they belong. Yeah. And that is what a third space really is, I guess. So that's my final thoughts on third spaces. Do you have any final thoughts?
I would just going to remind everyone that if there's stuff in here that we touched on that we didn't go into full detail because we are not experts in this other than the fact that we work in a third space. Yep. We will have books in the show notes. You'll see some behind us here that are really great about how things like redlining and zoning, but also about like how rural America, which we didn't really touch on, I touched on a little bit, kind of does it better.
They do. I mean, which makes sense.
Yeah.
You know,
because they are their own
smaller
ecosystem with third spaces. Yeah. Because they have to be. Because like I wasn't a mall rat because I was a good half hour from a mall.
Yeah, there's no mall.
There was no mall.
The mall was on the other side of town, so I did have to ride the bus to get there.
I would have to go through 2 other towns to get to the mall. But yeah, so, you know, if you grew up in rural America, which is true of a lot of people who live in the city now, there will be books on that. So I would also say check our show notes if you are like, wow, that's interesting. I want to know more.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's lots of stuff. There's lots of books written about it.
Yeah.
Besides just the third place books.
Yes.
But yeah.
It's time for the Book Bulletin.
Book Bulletin?
Book Bulletin.
I think we have a few things. Nothing like crazy.
I mean, there's no heated rivalry on this list, so why are we even doing it?
What are we even talking about?
What are we even talking about?
Oh, heated rivalry. How we love you. Did you go to that heated rivalry party? I'm kidding, you didn't.
Of course I did not.
I know, I'm just joking.
I thought about it. I will say I saw it, and I was like, maybe. And then I was like, no.
No.
Okay. Also, we work weekends, and so it's just really hard to like...
that thing. But...
Anyway.
Let's see. Our first article that we found...
We'll start with the bad one, and we'll work our way to like better ones.
Yeah.
So LGBTQ Nation posted that publishers are stepping back from LGBTQ books amid bans. So basically, we'll link the article, but what they're hearing from agents is that they're going to the publishers with well-known authors. These are not like new authors either, specifically in the teen and children's space. And the publishers are pushing back that they're not publishing as many LGBTQ books right now due to the political climate of book banning. They do quote specifically, Darius the Great is not okay.
Yes.
They do have a poll quote from that author specifically that they are moving into the adult spaces because it's the only way they're getting published. And they've seen a 70% decline in their royalties since this has started to happen. So even though I feel like it's died down in the news and knock on wood has died down a little bit in the actual like book banning, we'll see. I have not seen new stats on that for this last year. But ALA, the American Library Association, normally posts those at some point, so we'll have a better idea here if there has been less book banning, but it is still affecting authors' abilities.
That is what I would call silent censorship. Too.
Yeah.
Like, that is censorship. Like, straight up. If you are not publishing diverse voices, specifically, like, there's one thing to be said about, you know, unconscious bias. Or, agents not necessarily, not that it's right, but, like, you know, the biases that are with you being like, well, you know, you gravitate towards not diverse books, but to, like, specifically say, like, we aren't publishing this, you know, type of book is not okay.
No.
Not okay.
Not okay.
Just something to be aware of, I guess.
Yes.
You know?
If you're not seeing some of your favorite authors out there, that might be why.
I have noticed there has been kind of I've noticed there are a lot of teen authors who are making their adult debuts recently. And I wonder if that is part of it.
I think so.
Yeah, and I never really thought about it until I read that, until you shared that article with me. I was like, oh, I guess that would make sense.
Yeah, because their teen and children stuff is not getting published.
That's what people are, you know, the most upset about.
Yeah, so there's less book banning, but because there's less books out there that people would consider banning.
Boo.
Yeah. So anyway.
Boo.
The next one I really have no opinion on because I have neither read the book nor seen the movie. But there was a Guardian article.
I think it was a Guardian.
But anyway, a critic's review of Hamnet the movie, which is up for Best Picture at the Oscars, has won awards so far this award season.
Buckley got Best
Actress
at Golden Globes.
Yep. That basically it's Shakespearean fan fiction, which I was like, that's a take.
Yeah, that is a take. I have read Hamnet, and I loved it when I first read it. I remember recommending it to everyone, but it was a long time. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but in the span of how many books I consume regularly, it had, you know, fallen off of my radar.
So I think it's a 2020 novel, something like that.
And I have yet to see the movie. I want to see it so bad. It's hard. Yeah. To weekends or where it works, and we work weekends. But I think that what that article was really getting at is that it was like a little emotionally manipulative to some extent.
I mean, I think that it's okay to argue that. That's fine. As someone who doesn't like to be emotionally manipulated in her media that she's consuming, there's a reason I quit This Is Us, that TV show.
Oh, yeah.
And also, like, Zach went and saw Hamnet. And I was like, no way. I know enough about...
Had he read the book, too?
Yes,
right?
He has.
I feel like he's read the book,
Yes, and he liked both. He loved the movie. He's a huge Jesse Buckley and Paul Mescal fan, though, too. Yeah. So, like...
I have no doubt I will love the movie. Yes. Because I don't remember... The only thing that is weird for me, I would like to reread the book before. It's not going to happen. Because there's a whole list, and I don't want to waste a Libro credit on it. Just saying. But, like... I don't remember it being so emotional, even though I know it probably was. Yeah. But the movie, you know, when people, you know, it's a lot of crying.
Zach said he sobbed through it.
Yeah, like the ending. I mean, it is about the death of a child. Like, that's not light.
No.
It's not light. So I was really hoping to watch the movie by the time we recorded this podcast, but it just didn't happen.
I find it, like, I think there is an article about, like, is this movie book emotionally manipulative?
Yeah.
You know, I have no opinion because I don't know. But to call it Shakespearean fan fiction is, I think, a really odd take.
Especially, like, an author. I just... Mm-mm.
Yeah, I was like, it's a historical fiction. Like, it's not real. Like, this didn't happen to Shakespeare, as far as we are aware. But, yeah. Because there's, like, this is another good, probably, like, Touch of Magic book, if you're looking for that.
I do recommend the book, though. Yeah. Wholeheartedly. I probably would recommend. I'm sure I'll agree with Zach. I bet we'll have the exact same opinion about it.
You often have the exact same, like, views on when you guys overlap.
I feel like this is the next book bulletin is very appropriate right now because Bridgerton just restarted on Netflix. But Julia Quinn is launching a romance book subscription service for specifically historical romance.
It said also contemporary in the thing.
I thought it was only historical.
No, I only looked because like the 3 that they give examples for. So the subscription service is for books that are already out.
Yes.
They're essentially giving new covers to like pretty fancy books. I'm sure there's I didn't even look, but like the edging,
the pretty foxy
thing. Yeah. But so she's coming out with a subscription service where you can, sign up and then get, but they're older books. There's the ones that they showed was a Loretta Chase, which is like long time historical romance writer, Alyssa Cole's historical series, which is fantastic if you haven't read it. All these authors are fantastic, and Eloisa James. Those are the 3 books. But in the article itself, it said it will be both modern and historical romances.
I was really hoping. I guess in my mind, I read it that it was champion historical romance,
which I would love because
yes, yeah, I feel like it is the
and especially with the rise of Bridgerton, the amount of people come in like I love Bridgerton, and I was like Lisa Kleypas, and they've never like heard
of that.
And I was like, she's one of the most prolific historical romance writers. I've reread her stuff recently, even though it's older. It holds up in ways that Julia Quinn's do not as well, honestly. So I'm not going to subscribe to it.
No.
Because I am a huge historical romance reader, and so for me, just to get the pretty books, I've read all of them. Yes. Every single historical romance. I've read it. I've read it. But I'll be interested to see, because it doesn't drop until July, like what she picks.
Yeah.
Like what she decides. I'm on the fence about like how I feel about it too.
Yeah, I just like, for me, I like the idea, and it happened at the beginning of Bridgerton, but like I like the idea of champion historical romance a little more. And I'm not a huge historical romance reader, but I do think it has a place in the genre that often gets brushed aside.
Yeah, I also often think it's like the OG of the romance phenomenon, and people forget that because they weren't reading historical romances and
no, speaking of working at a used bookstore,
like
the mass market paperbacks, I know I didn't read them. I know all those authors because people will come in and buy 15 of those when we clearance them for $1. Those like bit, the paperbacks. So.
Yeah. That's what we'll sometimes put them in for our book sale at the library in like big old paper bags, and for like $2, I was like, there's 10 in here. They're historical romances, and they go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do, yes, I like that idea. I think it was more, no joke, 24 hours before this dropped, one of our coworkers like chatted me, who also reads, she's like, do you think Julia Quinn's ever going to write again? And I remember writing back, why would she? She doesn't need to. Like, if she wants to. And then like the next, I was like, well, this is what she's doing. Yeah. I found out. Subscription.
So the last book bulletin thing I want to talk about, it's kind of niche, but if you listen enough, you know that I do read a lot of advanced readers copies because I like to be right about books that people love. I'm kidding, but I'm
She's not.
You've listened to me enough. You know the truth. But so there was this book that was getting. I am no longer on TikTok, but there was a book that was getting a lot of buzz on TikTok. And the cover was really the cover, I was like, oh, this is interesting. It's called Shy Girl by Mia Ballard. And it is like everything in like that weird girl genre that like is lightly appealing to me. Like something that is really low key depraved and really weird. I won't get into, I'm not going to get into the summary of the book. But I was like, okay, like people are talking about this. The plot is very strange. I'm not going to get into the plot because I don't want to talk about it. It is almost too weird in some aspects, but I read it and I was like, sure, I get it. Like, I think I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was kind of weirdly formatted, but that is, when you read advanced readers copies, like you don't always know the final format, because I'm reading all ebook copies. I'm not reading like physical copies of the book. And the discourse started after I'd read it even higher, that people are saying that this book is written by AI. And, like, I started reading the reviews, or that this woman used AI to write this book. And I think one of the reasons it's happening is because she did steal the cover art for the original cover.
Yes, that's how it all started.
It all started where she did just take an image off Pinterest to use for the cover art.
Yikes. And the artist saw it.
So, obviously, the cover changed since then. It worked because the first cover got my attention. But, like, no.
Now I have to look and see if I've seen the first cover or the new cover.
Yeah, but, and so, yeah, basically, more and more people are piling on, being like, is this written by AI? I think Frankie Shelf, which is, like, I think YouTube only. I don't think they're on Instagram. I'd never really heard of them until there's a 3-hour video going through why they think this is AI. And so this is the whole point of this. Long story.
All backstory.
It's all backstory.
We haven't even got to it.
I was going to get onto Goodreads and modify my review. Not to make it a bad review. Not to say, oh, I'm lowering my rating. But just like, after learning more, I think this, I also think there is... the argument is strong, is what I'm going to say. And so I was going to acknowledge that in my review because, like, we are all kind of learning together how to spot AI. And part of it for me was I was like, oh, it's an advanced reader's copy.
Yeah.
So anyways.
And those always come out looking wonky.
So I went to go edit my review and I couldn't. Yeah. So Goodreads has blocked. It basically had a pop-up box that said there's been unusual activity on this book and you can't review it or update your review, which means it was being review bombed. Yeah. Like, bad, I'm sure, which you can't see.
No, if you look it up, it doesn't look like
it doesn't have... The top review is a 1-star review talking about how they think it was written by ChatGPT and does reference Frankie's Shelf. But I think pretty quickly after that YouTube came out, people went hard. And so I can't update my review. And that's never happened to me.
That is odd.
So I just thought it was really interesting, just in general. It is a bigger conversation to have about the publishing world and AI. We talk about it a little bit in our book bulletins. I'm sure, honestly, we should probably do a full episode on it at some point. But I just thought it was really, like, usually it's a good, I do like that Goodreads is preventing that.
Yes, that they're doing something.
To not let.
Because we often complain about, like, the Goodreads just, like, put up a brown website and walked away.
Which is kind of what they did.
Yeah. And then sold it to Amazon.
Then they changed the logo. And
the logo,
like,
slightly.
We're different.
Look at that.
We're different.
Look at that new serif font that we chose.
But I just thought it was, like, in the book sphere. I'm not going to tell you not to read the book. I'm not going to... I don't even think it's in our catalog yet. I can't remember.
It wasn't when you showed it to me when I checked.
It comes out in April, so it's a ways down. Yeah. But I'm not telling anyone to not read the book. But I am really curious, and I'll circle back to this. I'm curious to see how this develops, because this is the first time, too, where I was like, was I tricked?
Yeah.
Like, I don't like that.
No.
I don't like that.
It's an icky feeling.
It does not feel good to be like, not tricked. Yeah, tricked. Yeah.
Like, if it was, I think, I
think the things that I was looking at, I just wrote off as being an advanced copy, but thinking critically about it and looking at it again, I'm like,
yeah, but and also, like, because I guess I don't know where you got this arc, but, like, we usually get them from Neck Alley, yeah, but it's like a reputable traditional publishing arcs.
Yes, it's definitely public. I wish I would have remembered to write down the publisher, but it is one of the big publishers who's publishing it. So I don't know. I think that will be interesting to see how that plays out, if it just goes away, as in the book just goes away, or if it keeps going, or if it gets re-edited. And this is the second release because the first one had the stolen art. So anyways, it's just a even though you can't read this book yet, I just think it's a really interesting, like, micro part of, like, the whole bigger AI conversation and just kind of AI and publishing stuff. So I kind of wanted to just share that little niche anecdote. Yeah.
All right.
We'll see you guys next month for Wuthering Heights.
All things Wuthering Heights.
Yes.